Welcome friends, this is T again with another reaction video, and today we're going to be doing a reaction on Ahsoka, the official behind the scenes clip, man, with Rosario Dawson and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I'm not exactly sure which character that is, but who cares? All I care about is Ahsoka. Now, I believe it's going to be pretty long. I thought it was going to be like a short trailer, but I think it's going to be a pretty long one, which I prefer. I love these behind the scenes. I always tell you that really excites me because I'm a videographer and a photographer. I love how things work behind the scenes. So I'm really looking forward to reviewing the behind the scenes of Ahsoka. I really love that character. So let's go ahead and get into this reaction. But before we do, please like, subscribe, and share this video. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you know whenever we come out with new videos, okay? All right, let's get with it.
Always two there are. No more, no less. A master and an apprentice.
Star Wars always has these great master-apprentice relationships.
Remember, a Jedi can feel the Force flowing through him.
You see that handing down of mastery, the teaching, the developing, the growing.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I just love seeing the old Star Wars, man. Just give you that feeling of wonder and amazement and newness. I don't care how old this movie gets, man. As long as they keep remastering it, but I don't care how old this movie gets. It always brings that feeling out. I don't know if it's because I was young when I saw this movie for the first time or what, man. But even when I see it now, it's just, you just get that feeling, that magical feeling. Things start to change as they start to make more Star Wars movies, but I really love the original three, though. They were fantastic.
It's very much the idea of apprenticeship, the need for the.
And this is when they start to screw it up. It's unfortunate, right? It could have been so fantastic, even with them doing some of that feminist stuff in it. They still could have made it better, at least watchable, man. I think I fell asleep trying to watch this thing. So it was very, very difficult to get through. And you go because of the obligation you had for the original three movies, that you feel like you have to dedicate yourself to at least try to watch the rest of these movies. That they definitely tried to change the whole outlook of the Star Wars universe. So you just felt that obligation, man. The obligation. Let me go ahead and do this, man. Let me go ahead and see that movie, even though these movies looking like crap now. But let me just try to watch it. You still do that right now with Netflix. You do that right now with Netflix. You like a Star Wars show come on, you try to watch it, man, because you love the original three movies. And there's certain characters they put in that you want to see again, but then it's not really about those characters. They just slide them in there so you can come watch the movie, and it fails. And I don't know if Disney or Marvel, Disney realized when when people started to realize after the first or second episode that you screwed with them, that you messed with their mind, that they gonna want to watch the rest of it. I mean, it's a certain amount of episodes that you do. And I hear a lot of these streamers are trying to make these episodes shorter. They used to make them like a really long episode, like up to at least 10 episodes. But now they really trying to be shorter. I wonder if because people are starting to catch on real fast that they've been gypped. That now we're like, you know what, we can't drag this on to 10 episodes because people ain't going to watch it through because they realize we lied to them. So let's just shorten up into like 6 episodes. I couldn't even watch the 6 episodes of Invasion. I couldn't watch it. Still haven't watched it yet. It just looked ridiculous. I saw clips of the final end fight or whatever with the Super Skrulls, man. It just looked stupid. It looked so bad. I felt so sorry for Emily Clark, but you know what? She support this kind of crap too, so I can't feel too sorry for her either. They love this stuff, and I really hope they don't screw Ahsoka. I really hope they don't do that, man. I'm gonna watch it, but I really hope they don't screw this episode up.
Those two groups to come together in order to pass down the knowledge and to help save the world. In the case of Star Wars.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, Darth.
People love that when you say that, man. That was so fantastic. I'm nothing but the learner. Now I am the master. Earl Jones, boy, was no joke, man, back then.
Those life lessons are what make these characters some of the most iconic characters worldwide.
The war has just begun.
She should be the most powerful Jedi ever. I be more powerful than Darth Vader, Ben-Obi Kenobi, all the Jedis in the past, the Emperor. Look at this, man. You know, it's like, that's one thing I did like about George Lucas when he dealt with these Star Wars and the Jedi and the Sith. He understood not to make them too powerful. You know, certain things they had limits. There's certain things they could not do, even though certain. And then when he do decide to make them do something out of the usual, it'll look amazing because he held back for so long. Then he eventually like, let's go ahead and make them do this so that way people can be amazed by it. But not with Rey, man. They went straight for the guts. They went Super Saiyan where her powers, man. I'm like, look at it. I mean, where can you go from here? Instead of moving planets. I mean, this is going too far for somebody that just became a Jedi. It's just ridiculous in it. So even if they had a young man doing this, man, I thought it would have been stupid. It just, for some reason, they were like, oh, let's make it so cool, make it so much better than all these men and stuff. And it didn't. It took the Jedi, it took you out of the, I ain't gonna say reality, but out of the, you know, the limitations of what Jedis can do and what they can't do. They can be killed. As much as I wish that nobody can defeat a Jedi, Jedis can be defeated. Who can defeat this? This, man. Who can defeat her? She like, ain't anybody that she come across ain't not gonna be able to do this. Because she's so amazing. She will not lose. It was ridiculous as far as they pushed their powers.
Beginning, and I will not be the last Jedi.
Yeah, even Yoda could do it. That's terrible, boy.
All of that wisdom gets passed down, over those generations. We have Qui-Gon Jinn, who's the master of Obi-Wan, who's the master of Anakin Skywalker. And by being trained by Anakin, Ahsoka was part of that legacy as well.
Now, I didn't watch the Clone Wars at the beginning, but when they started talking a lot about Ahsoka, when I first saw her in clips, I was like, ooh. And I probably felt like many other people that first came across Ahsoka, they were like, okay, they pushing that Disney kitty thing again, right? Like with Jar Jar Binks or something, right? Some little sidekick that always gonna get on Anakin's nerve, right? But as they develop that character, man, you really start to like her. And she is now one of my favorite characters. And that's why I think so many people are hoping that they don't screw this up. Because if it's good, they would like to see more. And it's hard to hate it because it seems like all the women, even though it's like a full women cast, it seems like they all these characters came from the original like Clone Wars and the animated series. So you like those characters. So in a way you hope they do succeed. But it's like the bad guy is just so white bread, so weak looking, All they do is call Ray up and say, come on, let's go ahead and knock these dudes out. And Ray come in and smack him a few times and that's it. She'll beat them all. And I'm hoping they don't go that route, man, to make these women so amazing that nobody can defeat them, that they smarter than everybody, more powerful than everybody, more strategic than everybody. It just kills the fantasy of realism. Even though it's fictional, some people like to still see a little bit of reality in their fictions. It's like aliens. Ripley couldn't do everything. She was scared. She was running. She was screwing up. She was almost being killed. You knew she could die. And eventually, at some point in the series or the franchise, she did die. And I think when you are a strong actress, you know that certain things are just ridiculous, but the girl that played Rey, she'll understand that they were screwing up her character, and it might have been something she really didn't want at the beginning, because I heard it was a lot of backlash and she didn't like it. Even though she's now coming back again, maybe they'll repair her character, but when you don't have that much experience in Hollywood, which I believe she didn't at the time, they were able to screw with her character without her having any input to it. Like somebody like Sigourney Weaver would have with her character. She probably wouldn't have came back for the second movie if you didn't make her somewhat vulnerable. And that's what you loved about Ripley, because you knew that even though she was strong, but she was also vulnerable. And she didn't change the fact, even though she did have some masculine qualities about her, but it didn't take away from the attraction you had for her. Because I did have an attraction. I'm not saying she was the most beautiful woman in the world, but I'm just saying it was something about her that was feminine too, that you did like about her. You liked the fact she loved the little girl so much that she was afraid that she was having these nightmares, and she didn't want to go back to that planet, because if it was written nowadays, she would have like, yes, I'll go back to that planet and save all those people, but she resisted at first. She was like, I ain't going back to that. She's like, I've been through hell first time. All my friends were killed in the first movie. Why would I want to go back for? But eventually, the nightmares made her eventually go back. But for some reason, they don't want to do that anymore. They want to just make these women super powered and no flaws, but the kind of flaws that they do make is kind of flaws that they know most men don't like. Like, I was watching a little bit of You. It's a show that comes on. I never watched the whole thing, where this guy was like a psycho killer, and he fell in love with this woman. And she was sleeping around with everybody, even though she was dating him. I thought that was interesting. He ended up killing her in the end. But the point is, they know that set men off. So they love showing that kind of weakness in women. Something that they know that's going to set men off, or men aren't going to like. But then... But they don't want these women to be vulnerable, where men find attractive. They seem to want to go in the opposite of direction of these things. But let me just go ahead and finish. I'm talking too much. Let's go ahead and finish.
Ahsoka is a character that Dave Filoni created and worked with George Lucas on in the Clone Wars.
Originally, we didn't really know, exactly what the Clone Wars was going to be, and we made up our own little band of characters. There was a character that was a Jedi, and there was a Padawan, and thought we'll put them on adventures. But George had other ideas. He says, well,
that's probably the reason why Ahsoka was so lovable. Now, I still want to give Dave credit for creating that character, but he probably didn't want them to screw her up like they do a lot of these female characters. And it seems like he was on these, even though he sold the company, he still was very much involved. I didn't realize he was this much involved with these shows, because I thought he was just showing up a few times and giving his advice, but they didn't really follow it. Because when you look at the movies, Kennedy didn't pretty much listen to him at all. They just did whatever they wanted to. But they basically was like allowing him a big time input into this. You can tell, like, these little meetings they having right now discussing characters. I didn't realize that he was that much involved in these shows.
And this character, and he points to the Padawan we had, and he says, let's give Anakin Skywalker a Padawan. And I was like, Anakin doesn't have Padawan. And he just looked at me and said, Anakin has a Padawan. And that was basically it. That's how...
Yeah, that's how George Lucas ran his movies company. He pretty much what he wanted was done. It won't, no question. You didn't argue with him. I mean, that can work against you too in some ways. Some people didn't want to even question him, and I think that's where he started to slide in some of his movies. But some things I feel is still good, that he still want to keep Star Wars in the same kind of universe. That's why I think the animated shows were a lot better than the live action ones. Because I'm not exactly sure who's running the live action ones in a lot of the cases, since it's coming out badly, and I don't think George Lucas is too much involved in it. Because these guys, like Dave, I forgot his last name, him and the other dude, I forgot his name too. Excuse me, forget their name. Dave Filoni, right? I forgot the other dude's name, but these guys can be corrupted. Kathleen Kennedy can come in, make suggestions, and they'll fold to her, basically. They'll try to still do what they want to do, which is usually the right thing. But, her influence is so powerful that she'll come in and then start saying things and they'll go along with it, even though it's against their best interest or best decision making. But George Lucas, on the other hand, Kathleen Kennedy ain't going to just roll in there and tell him what to do. Even though she is in charge of this whole thing, she still won't define him. If he still think a character should be a certain way, or a storyline should be told a certain way, I doubt if she goes against them. And that's the reason why I think that having George Lucas on these animated shows and involved, and I think they probably want that too. It kind of keeps Kathleen Kennedy at bay, at the least.
Ahsoka came about. We cast Ashley Eckstein to be the voice of the character, and she's fantastic in the Clone Wars and Rebels.
Ahsoka is one of the most well-developed characters in Star Wars, period.
She's the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker.
And I hope y'all don't screw her up. This is what works against Ahsoka. So many men like her. That's going to work against her because they go sit down with Kathleen Kennedy. They're going to be like, the main focus of the meet is how can we make this character that white men don't like her. It seems like that's the meeting, man. It's like they do everything they can to make you hate a character because you're a straight white man. It's ridiculous, man. Or just a man in general. Everything that we like about this character, they gonna do their best to make her that we don't like her anymore and ruin it. You just get that feeling, even though the trailers look pretty decent, and even though they're having this behind the scenes, they talking about it and make it seem like we went through so much trouble, and we really want to make this character like the one from the animated show, make it perfect that everybody love, and just bring it to life and live action. Even though they saying all this stuff behind the scenes, but in actuality, they actually trying to make you end up hating her, and that's the part that so many people fear that are fans of this particular character.
He's the only one that he is trained to be a Jedi.
This young teenage girl who was trained to be a keeper of the peace had to become a warrior, worthy of standing next to the greatest Jedi of all time.
Yeah, she was a badass, man. She was a badass.
Ahsoka's story and her growth has mirrored my own. As you see my style of storytelling mature, the stories got more complex. It had grown to the point where I wanted to take what I was doing in animation and really see if I could get it to this type of storytelling that I'd grown up with in Star Wars.
See, original fans, Dave Filoni is original fan. They love the original Star Wars. That's like most people. Because anybody that gets into Star Wars now is because of the original movies. They don't skip and decide to go to these characters because they have no clue who these characters are and the importance of these characters because they don't know nothing about these characters. And it's like because the stories are weak and because the characters are weak because they made them that way, it's like nobody would like skip the first 3 movies to go to these latest shows and movies and fall in love with it. It's nothing to fall in love with. You have to go through the gate of the 3 original movies before you can start to have an appreciation and an understanding of the latest movies. You can't do it. And you have to be a fan of those movies in order to love these future movies that they made. But for some reason, they seem to can't grasp onto that concept. Nobody gonna fall in love with the crap they putting out unless they fall in love with Star Wars from the beginning. There has to be a beginning, an origin. But no, they think that they just can make something and you can just forget about. Because they did their best to destroy all the characters except Carrie Fisher. But they end up doing it anyway. But they went all through a lot of trouble to destroy these original characters where Harrison Ford helped and the guy that played Luke Skywalker, excuse me for forgetting his name right now, Hamilton. They went through all the trouble to destroy these original characters so you can fall in love with Rey. I'm like, it's not gonna work, man. You got to fall in love with the original characters first in order to move on to the new ones. You didn't have to destroy the reputation of the original characters to usher in new people. You can still like new people in the new universe, but they didn't want to do that. It wasn't enough for you just to fall in love with the new characters. They had to obliterate the original ones in their minds because they thought that was going to work, and it didn't. Nobody gonna really be a fan of Star Wars unless they see and like the first 3 movies that were made. No one. And it's obvious to everybody but the people that's making all these new Star Wars.
Mandalorian Season 1 was a perfect place for me to experiment with my own creativity and style, but have a great backstop and support from collaborating with all these other extraordinary people.
Until Kathleen Kennedy hijacked it and put Lizzo in it. I'm like, you knew. As soon as you saw the clip, like somehow seeing that clip of Lizzo in the commercial, I never even watched that episode. I never finished the series after that. First 2 seasons, I watched the whole thing and I loved it. Then this episode, I couldn't get through it, man. It was terrible because you saw that they was like basically pushing Mando to the side. And then you go bring Lizzo on this day. It's like, who are you trying to get as fans? Women are not gonna watch these shows. They're not enough for you to continue making these things. If your goal is to destroy the series, then they're doing a great job at it. Because they're not gonna get they're not gonna have female fans. Not enough to keep this show going. Not enough, when they got to scrap everything and start all over. Filoni was doing a great job thinking he had control of this series, but then somebody, and I believe it was Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know for sure, but somebody came in and said, okay, now that you got this thing established, now that you got all these people that are fans of the show now and everything like that, now we're going to take over and tell you what to do, and now you're going to start pushing what we want you to push. Some type of agenda or some crazy mess. And then now nobody liking Mandalorian. Nobody looking for it. I never heard nobody looking for it to the 4th season because they pretty much obliterated the 3rd season of this show. It's not even about Mando anymore. It's almost not even about the kid that much anymore, man. They just now pushing this agenda now. It's like that's all they do. They'll find a project or something that is popular, and then they'll put their own spin on it and ruin it. And like I say, it's like they lose so much money, but they continue to do it. So you're wondering if this is the purpose. It's just to ruin it and usher in some other crap that nobody want to see. I mean, it boggles the mind, man. It boggles the mind.
Reunite it with its own kind.
This is the way.
So when Season 2 came around, I was like, for my episode, I was like, well, I'm going to do Ahsoka. I'm like, I just need to try this. Let's do it.
Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan sent me.
I hope it's about him.
For a character that has such depth and complexity, to bring that character to live action made a tremendous amount of sense.
Tell me what I want to know. Where is your master?
George visited the set when we were filming the lightsaber fight in the Japanese garden, Season 2. And I think it was really encouraging of Dave stepping up to this role. And so George would turn to Kathy and myself and be proud of Dave. He was Dave's teacher, and Dave was his apprentice.
Oh, so Kathleen Kennedy was hanging around. She just had to hang around just to ruin things. But George was on set, so she couldn't interfere too much. That's probably the reason why that it still turned out so well. Everybody was really excited about seeing Ahsoka on the show. But then somehow, man, as usual, they just hand the reins to Kathleen Kennedy, and they know everybody can't stand this woman. They know that she ruined Star Wars. Everybody knows this, but either, like I said, Disney stuck with her, or they just ignoring the fans completely, and that's why she just ruining everything, man.
There are moments when I just stare at her and I'm just like, wow, she just looks like this thing I've drawn, but Tara's done all the research. Like, she knows the character, but now she has to become it in a way that's never happened before.
Yeah, it actually, the thing that feels most awkward right now is talking
with you. You know, the posing and you know, sort of the stances we were doing, that's not unusual, but speaking as Rosario while in Ahsoka is a little startling. I really love the transformation and really deep diving into who she is.
Rosario Dawson is just such an incredibly powerful actress, and she loves this character.
And she's trying to figure out a way to ruin it. You can see the mechanism spinning in her head. How do I destroy this character? George Lucas made her with Dave Filoni, and I need somehow to figure out some kind of way to get my hands on this character and obliterate it, destroy it. Too many men are liking this character. I don't like that. I need to change that. I want women to like this character, not men. No, you just can't have both women and men liking this character. She got to make men hate it. So only reason why she haven't destroyed Ahsoka yet is because George Lucas is showing up, and that's one of his characters that he liked, that he helped create, and so she haven't got her greedy little hands on it yet. So, but she don't care. She really don't care. She really, I have to say it again, she really don't care. If she got her hands on it, you know exactly what she would do with it.
I think everything about who Ahsoka is just brought to life in a way that almost nobody else could.
She not only gets a character, but she gets like the Star Wars of it all, which is an important ingredient. You have to be in it. This is a hard thing. You're gonna have to be painted orange every day. You're gonna have to put a prosthetic on your head every day. You're gonna be training like a Jedi to learn how to lightsaber fight almost every day.
I believe, I don't agree with everything what Rosario Dawson believes in, but I can say one thing. When she gets involved in a project, she does try. She does put forth effort in it. I mean, she only can deal with whatever material they give her, but she does put effort in it. And I believe if this character get ruined, I won't blame her for it. I won't. I can't speak for the rest of the fans, but I won't blame her for it. I think it's going to be beyond her control. I think they're going to take this character probably in the wrong direction at some point. If they're going to first try to make her popular right now. See, that's the goal. So the show might still end up decent or good. But once she become popular, live action, that's when they're going to jump in and, okay, now we're going to hijack it and turn it into garbage. So if you're going to enjoy this show, you might enjoy the first season. So, but don't have high hopes for the second or third season if they're going to be a third season. But most likely, if this character become popular, live action with Rosario Dawson, somehow Kathleen Kennedy, I'm sure she's right now working right now behind the scenes to be able to hijack this show just like she hijacked The Mandalorian.
Playing someone who is an absolute expert, and so I really wanted to be able to physicalize that as much as possible.
Yeah, Jedi's primary weapon is a lightsaber. There need to be a lot of lightsaber fights, and they have to be good because our fans know the difference.
When I started getting my stances and some of the postures and, started really getting my left hand up to par with my right, that I started to really feel like I was sinking into who Ahsoka was, because her physicality is such a huge part of who she is. No matter how tired I was like, sign me up for some more. Sign me up for some more.
Because if you look at Ben Kenobi and what's his name? Oh man, my mind just going crazy right now. Darth Vader. I'm gonna just say Darth Vader right now. Anakin. Thank you. If you look at when they were training behind the scenes, man, they were working their tail off to coordinate the fight scenes, because that is a major part of Star Wars, the lightsaber. And nobody want to see no boring, slow fighting, man. They should have been training her. As soon as she got the part, they should have took her behind the scenes and physically trained her to do this part. I mean, they should really to make it really good, and definitely have that stunt double to do a lot of the stuff she can't do. But they should work hard, just like she's saying, man. Ahsoka is very physical. That's what they love. Other than her wit and her character, man, they love her fighting style. They love Ahsoka's fighting style, and they love the fact. And when she kick tail, it's believable. They don't make her perfect, But when she does kick tail and she does it in the coolest way, you can't help but love seeing her. Every time she appeared on screen in the animated series, you was excited because you knew you was going to get some really good action from her. She put into being a Jedi. And right now, I think this is something that I believe Rosario Dawson never had before to be a part of a creation of a character. I think this is probably the first time. This is hers now. It's not anybody else's. She's not, doing like Wonder Woman was first Linda Carter, and then it was somebody else, or then it was first Superman, and then it was a couple of other people after that. She is the first Ahsoka. This, whatever she does with this character, if anybody else plays it in the future, it's going to be based on what she does with this character. And like I say, if it gets screwed up, I won't blame Rosario Dawson, because I know Disney is very controlling, and they limit you on certain things that you can do. The director, the writers, whatever, when they seek out some kind of agenda, they'll destroy a character. And that's what I think what happened to like Luke Skywalker. I think, the guy that played Luke Skywalker didn't want that. He probably wanted to reflect how the original Luke Skywalker was, but of course they took over and they destroyed that character basically. I mean, people still look for it. They're seeing him, but they don't have high hopes about it because they know whenever they're going to bring him back, they're going to just try to make him look like a fool like they did in that last movie. But it's really important that they establish this character, and they establish Rosario Dawson with this character to make her look really, really, really good. So I hope that's going to be the case.
More.
When you step into Star Wars and work with George, you are part of a legacy. You're part of a history, and we had to uphold that history and yet do this completely new and different thing.
Ahsoka is another story where you can step in at any point and not feel that you necessarily have to have seen everything.
So that was so great about Ahsoka, and that the opposite of Rey. Now, hopefully, they'll do Ahsoka right, and now that they plan on bringing Rey back, hopefully they'll make adjustments to make her better, to make it dangerous. That's the whole point of sci-fi, man. Is the fact of the matter is the heroes are put into situations where they can't always figure it out. Sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes their lives is at stake. Sometimes they just screw up. I mean, emotion. Not just making them walking around like men and being stoic and just like with nothing to faze us. We just can do it and get it done. Nobody want to see that. Nobody even want to see that with the main characters. They want to see some type of vulnerability. And hopefully they'll get this character right. Hopefully, I believe they will. I can't speak for any other characters on this show, man, but hopefully they'll really try to get her right and establish something that they can use for not only her character, but for also other female characters that they obviously gonna keep bringing into these movies. But bring men in it too, though. Don't just leave the men out. Because everybody loved the relationship between her and Anakin. Everybody loved that relationship. And for some reason, Kathleen Kennedy just want to etch-a-sketch the men out of the characters. Because they feel like Anakin was going to overshadow her, which at the beginning he did, and I'm sure a lot of fans of Anakin didn't like the fact he had a sidekick. But in the end, not only was she almost like equal with him, some people might say they liked her better than they liked him. I'm not one of those people, but I enjoyed seeing both of them at the same time. When she was without him, I'm waiting for him to show up, and when he was without her, same thing. You always want to see them together, but you always like seeing them also apart too, because they were strong characters. So hopefully, man, they'll really, really, really try to make her character. I hate for Rosario Dawson to work this hard in order for him for them to destroy this well-established character.
From the beginning of this series, Ahsoka is out there on the fringe of the galaxy. When she hears whispers of this warlord's return, she decides to enlist her friends' help.
This is about preventing another war. You know who could help?
Sabine Wren.
I'm not sure she'll want to help.
I'm telling the story about this mentor-student relationship that passes from Anakin to Ahsoka to Sabine.
There is nothing easy about being a Jedi.
It's quite extraordinary to bring this to life.
When the stakes are this high, We have to do what's right.
Okay, so 2-episode premiere. Like I said, I'm really hoping that they really treat her right in the show. It's you get these alarm bells, these red flags when you can see all these women in it, and and then all the men it's almost like watching adult movies, man. You watch it for the women, but the guys kind of like furniture, and it's almost like that's how they treat in this. From what I hear, Hollywood like to steal from like a lot of adult movies, man. Like how they promote things or how they do things and film things. It's almost like that. They almost like trying to put the women ahead and make men furniture, because most of the bad guys and the men in these shows are either already weak from the beginning or they were strong and they made them weak. Like Ben-Over Kenobi, I don't need to fight. I'll let the girls do it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wanted to see him, and yet they just put him to the side. And that's what they seem to be doing now, and you get these red flags when you see all these women on this show when you shouldn't. When I watch Alien, I hate to keep using that as a perfect example, but I have to, man, because it's great. Ripley, man, even though they showed her mostly in the trailers, you knew that they was going to still make a great movie. That despite the fact that she is a woman, they still going to not only make a great movie, but they also going to make her still a great character because she does it. And like I said, I don't think Sigourney Weaver would have done it if they didn't make her vulnerable. Emily Blunt, she don't like the fact of these strong characters. She said she read a script talking about at the beginning saying some kind of strong lead female character. It just made her roll her eyes. She don't want to do that. Real actresses don't want to play these characters. They don't mind a certain type of strength, but a strength of a woman. They don't want to be men. They want that strength what women have of protecting their children, of inner strength, of wisdom, things of that sort. That's the kind of stuff that they looking to do. They ain't looking for them to walk around like dudes and being stoic. And no, I figured it out already, so you don't even have to think about it, man. So step to the side and let me take care of it. They don't want to play those characters because they don't want to play men. Actresses, real actresses, let me repeat this and let me make this clear. Real actresses do not want to play men. Unless it's some kind of gay character or something like that, a trans character, and they just playing a particular trans character, they might do something to play that role. But in general, if they playing women, man, they do not want to play men. They don't want to do it. They want to find the inner strength of women. They want to find the characteristics of women. They just want it to be creative. They don't want to change it to a man. They just want to be creative with women. And I'm thinking most people don't have a problem with this. We don't need Ahsoka to be a dude, man. Because she wasn't a dude on the animated show. She still was a girl. You still could tell. She just was a kick-ass fighter. And she had that little attitude thing going on, that little fire in her, and we like that too now. We don't mind her having a little attitude and a little bit of fire, not arrogance, but just a little attitude, But like I say, once Kathleen Kennedy gets her hands on it, it's all she wrote. She's gonna ruin the character, and if she have anything to do with this show, then you're gonna see it. You're going to clearly see it. Ahsoka going to say something out of character. She never said it on the animated show. Women are better than men. You never saw that on the animated show, ever. She never had Ahsoka never had to downgrade a man on that show in order to be a badass. She never had to do it, but for some reason, they have to take these shows and somehow humiliate a man. Somehow. I would like the fact that Ahsoka is fighting one of these main characters that she lose a couple of times. That would be so great to see her lose a couple of battles. She don't have to be perfect and beat everybody. But like I say, if Kathleen Kennedy or people like her that have anything to do with this show, then you're going to see something like that on there. But if the show is still good, I can probably bypass that little part. They little crappy, sayings or whatever. I can bypass it. As long as it's good and they do Ahsoka justice, I can live with it. Okay, I can live with it. All right. I really appreciate all of you coming by and hearing my whole rant about this whole thing, man. I just love Ahsoka, man. I love that character, and she's so badass. And I love it. I love Rosario Dawson playing this character in The Mandalorian. I thought she was great. She got the look. And hopefully they trained her enough to make her look good in these fight scenes. I mean, the couple of clips that I saw weren't too bad. And hopefully, and that's what I loved about certain action movies. They'll give you a little bit on the trailer, but then they'll show you some really badass stuff. I don't have that high expectation. I just hope that she is decent, good in fighting on this show, and I believe Rosario Dawson is going to put forth effort to do that. Okay, so I'm not going to hold her responsible for this show failing. It's going to be people behind the scenes, and most likely people with agendas. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, all right. I really appreciate all of you coming by again. Thanks again. This is T, and peace.